Hi and welcome to this video. So today's video is around a roadmap to personal development. So I've been studying personal development for more than 25 years, having read around 40 books a year for the past 25 years, many of them being on personal development, and also having gone on a fair number of courses. In fact, I'm always on some course or the other, trying to improve my own life and move myself forward. So today's video is about a roadmap that I have developed in order to bring the whole subject of personal development together, so people who are relatively new to this road, or even people who are reasonably well developed on it, can see where the progress is and the areas that they need to look at and concentrate on to avoid missing anything in particular, as opposed to being relatively haphazard at it. So here's the roadmap, and as you can see, it's a series of concentric circles with mindfulness at the center. Now, effectively, mindfulness is at the center because I believe that it's a great starting point to make sure that you move forward in your personal development. So why is it at the center, and why is it, I believe, one of the most important aspects? Very simply, I'm not sure about you, but certainly in my life, things go wrong. When things go wrong, generally speaking, it's because I wasn't mindful about a particular topic. So mindfulness is often confused with meditation. So meditation is actually the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is being aware of what you're doing at the time, what you're saying, how you're acting, how you're feeling, just being personally aware in the moment of the actions that you're taking forward. So if you are able to practice this on a consistent basis by, say, when you're driving your car, when you're doing the washing up, at many times during the day when you're doing things that are relatively straightforward and easy and maybe chores, then practice your mindfulness to try and get your mind focused in on the area of what's happening at this particular moment in time. It's really an absolute key skill and significantly worth developing, because it stops you saying and doing things that you don't really want to do in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve. The next circle going out is heart. Now, this may not be so obvious to you. What is heart all about? Okay, so heart is making heart-centered decisions. So what do I mean by that? It's basically a decision that's good for you, good for other people, and good for the world in general. If it doesn't meet all three of those criteria, it's not a heart-centered decision. So let's take an example. Say you were looking to buy a new car and you thought, I quite like one of those 4x4s. Now, maybe it's good for you because they tend to be quite safe cars, if that's something you look at. Maybe it's good for other people because it protects your family. But if you then go out and potentially buy a diesel car as opposed to, say, an all-electric one, maybe that's not good for the world. Now, I don't know in actuality whether that's entirely the case, but most people would agree that generally electric cars are better for the planet than diesel ones. So it's these kinds of decisions really that come from heart. And the reason it's the next circle out from mindfulness is that if you put everything that you do through those three questions, then you're well on the way to making good, strong, heart-centered decisions. Okay, so the next section going outwards is principles. So what are principles? So principles are really your rules in life, things that you set in place to make sure that your life works. But a principle also should be something that works pretty much for most people. So it often gets confused with values, which is the next area out. However, a team of thieves, for instance, can share values. They want to be wealthier, but in terms of a principle and integrity and fairness, that doesn't really work. So principles are things that are universally true for most people, and you can only imagine a world without principles to determine whether it works or it doesn't work. So for instance, if everybody had no integrity, that wouldn't be a great world, right? If everybody didn't treat everybody else fairly, that wouldn't be a great world. So if you imagine a principle is something where if the world didn't have it, it would be a significant problem. So that's principles. So the next area out is values. So what are values? So values are things that you put into place, and you could go online and look up a whole series of values, but different people have different values depending upon what's important to them, as opposed to principles which should be reasonably universally true. So you may value mindfulness, as I do, highly. You may value tact, you may value happiness, you may value cheerfulness, you may value integrity. The thing is probably go online, get a whole list of values, and then start ticking off what you believe are your most important ones, and then measure them side by side until you get to a list of about 8 or 10 and try and get them in order. How I tend to do it is that I have 4 major values for myself, and then I have 4 major values for how I deal with other people, and that helps me to stay on track as to how I want to go forward in my own life. So that's values. Okay, the next area out is purpose. So purpose is why you believe you're on the planet. What difference will it make to the world that you existed? And it's something that should encompass your passion and your skills and bring them together to achieve something. So what is it you're going to achieve in your life? If you have a strong enough purpose, then it's really a true north. It's a magnet that gets you up every morning and helps you drive forward in what you're trying to achieve, because you're trying to achieve this massive goal in your life. And really that's a purpose, and having a written purpose statement is like a rudder, like a true north. It helps you determine what you should do and what you shouldn't do. It makes it easier to say no to things that don't fit in with your purpose statement. There are lots of good things that go on in the world, but really you probably can't achieve all of them, and therefore what aligns with your purpose that makes sense for what you should be doing every single day, and you should be looking every single day to live in line with your purpose. The next section going out is power. So what is power? Power is really when you bring your mindfulness, your heart, your principle and your values to bear in life. So it's utilizing all of the things that went previously and applying them. It's where the rubber meets the road. So it's the strength and drive that you bring to your purpose. It's bringing your mindfulness to your heart-centered decisions, and it's the point of where your mind meets the actions that you take in life, and how strongly you do that is the power that you apply. Power is then taken to the next ring out, which if you look up separately is something called the Wheel of Life. Now I've put in a number of sections which I believe are important, but other people may put in other sections. For instance, spouse, they may separate out entirely. But these are just areas of your life, and what you should be doing with the Wheel of Life is grading yourself to see how well you're doing in certain areas. So when I say grading yourself, what do you grade yourself against? Well, it's simple. You just say, well, how am I achieving in that particular area? Now, ideally, what you would do is to write yourself a standard. What's the standard I want to achieve in that particular area? And therefore, if I was to score myself today, how far am I towards achieving that standard? And really, across the board, you should be aiming for balance. So it's not a question of taking one over another. They're all probably equally important, and making sure that you don't drop the ball in any one of these areas is what personal development is all about, really. So if you look at the different areas, and different people, as I say, will make different decisions. My first one is vision. So vision is generally about looking forward over a number of years. It's looking at your purpose, heart-centered decisions, and looking at your principles, but also planning on a 5-year, 3-year, 1 year, 3-month, 1 month, and daily basis. It's looking forward to determine what actions you're going to do and planning for them. That planning is invaluable if you actually then start to use your power to move your vision forward. Health is pretty obvious. Yeah, it's all the different things that come together. So avoidance of stress, getting enough sleep, getting good nutrition, getting exercise. All of those 4 pillars coming together will determine your health. And again, it's one of those big dominoes. If you don't have good health and vitality, really, you can't bring your power to bear. So it's important that that's, as an area of your life, you look at developing. Now, most of these areas around the wheel of life should be habits that you form and not necessarily goals. So you set the standard and then you say, what habits do I need to put into place to achieve those standards? And certainly health is one of those things. The next area is relationships. So that's relationships with everybody, and it's something you can work on. And how do you deal with people? Are you tactful? Are you empathic? Are you cheerful? And look at certain things to see what you can do to improve your relationships in life. The next area after that is finances. So if we're talking about finances, obviously that's your money, it's how you earn. Now, money isn't obviously the be all and end all, but for different people it has different levels of value. But in our society, certainly it's very difficult to function properly without money. There's nothing wrong with great wealth to my mind, and in actuality, to my mind, the more wealth and value you can generate doesn't mean you have to keep it for yourself. You can have quite a big impact in the next ring outside, which is contribution. So if you look at people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, who are extremely wealthy and very philanthropic and giving away the vast majority of their wealth, and also influencing other people to do good things in the world. So finances is something that one should look at in some depth. Skills. So skills is the next area. So what skills do you need to meet your life purpose and your goals? And really that's going to be different for different people. But if you identify what those skills are and say, okay, what skills would help me? Certainly some skills like public speaking, communicating well, verbally or in writing, are useful to almost everybody. Another great skill that I believe in is being able to read quickly and have a system for digesting and memorizing, but certainly keeping the vast majority of useful information from a book. I've been reading more than 40 books a year for the last 25 years, and I have a system, which is on another video, as to how I retain most of that information. So skills are worthwhile. The next area is your job. Well, everybody's got their job or their work, and really, whether you're self-employed, you run your own company, you work for somebody else, it's a big area of people's lives. They spend an awful lot of time doing it while they're in work. So it's about making sure that you've got a job that you like and you've got passion for, because you do spend a lot of time there. And how do you improve your scores in that area? The next area around on the ring is home and home life. And how do you set up your home? If you're going to spend 1/3 of your life at work, maybe you're probably spending more than 1/3 of your life at home. What's the environment you live in, and does it bring you a sense of peace and satisfaction? Again, it's about scoring yourself, setting standards, and trying to move towards what it is you want from your home life. Last but not least is recreation. So all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So recreation really is important to our lives. And what really floats your boat and what gives you passion and what you enjoy is something certainly worth spending some time at. Doesn't mean it needs to take over your entire life, but you have to balance that area along with other areas, I personally believe, to get a sense of joy and satisfaction in your life. So that's the wheel of life, and that's the circle. The last circle on the outside is contribution. Now, just because it's on the outside doesn't mean that it's less important. Really, the circle is set up that because it's very difficult to contribute as much as you could unless you've got some of the inner areas sorted out. As my meditation teacher is fond of saying, if you're stuck in the mud, you can't pull somebody else out of the mud. So contribution is what you do in the world, and some people would say it's the biggest thing, but for me it's getting everything sorted out for yourself to a degree and then contributing as best you can in the world. And the more you're sorted out in your own personal development, the more power you can bring to bear, and eventually the bigger contribution you make. So I hope you found that overall my roadmap useful. Have a look at it. Different people will put it together differently. It's my view on how personal development should sit together. I hope you found that useful. And yeah, as I say, if you found it useful, then use it by all means and come back to our website and refer to it at any time. But thanks very much for listening. That's our roadmap to an extraordinary mind. Thanks, and bye for now.